And I do want to take you out to a big story that we have been following a lot over the past week. New details do continue to emerge about the suspect in last week's murder of the United Healthcare CEO in Midtown Manhattan. While the New York City Police Department has not necessarily zeroed in on a motive for the attack, detectives do allege that Luigi Mangione may have been motivated by his anger toward the healthcare industry. The city's police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, revealing Wednesday that the gun found on Mangione during his arrest in Pennsylvania matches shell casings that were found at the site of the shooting in New York. Tisch added that the 26-year-old suspect's fingerprints also matched a water bottle and snack bar wrapper located near the scene, believed to be purchased at a nearby coffee shop as he waited for his target. Mangione remains jailed over in Pennsylvania without bond, where he was arrested on gun and forgery offenses. Manhattan prosecutors still working to bring him back to New York to face a murder charge in the death of Brian Thompson. Mangione was arrested earlier this week while at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, when an employee apparently recognized him from photos circulated nationwide by the NYPD. I want to bring in Joe Thompson, a friend of the show and former NYPD detective, to talk more about everything here. Thank you so much for taking the time, as always, to be here with us.
Morning, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, first off, I do want to ask you here, as this case has progressed, we've gotten new information pretty much on a daily basis here. So can you explain to me overall what's kind of stood out to you about all of those details as they come in?
Well, the first thing that stands out to me is that this case broke pretty quick. A lot of the evidence is coming in hot and heavy here, so to speak. And some of the evidence is actually pretty good stuff. I'd like to get into it in a little while with you, but you don't ordinarily see a case like this where you get, a hit job basically over a cause such as something with the healthcare system. So it's unique in that realm for sure.
And yeah, as you mentioned, we do want to get into it just a little bit further here. So working with the NYPD, have you ever seen a crime like this one? This is obviously a very serious offense. You have a suspect who was able to get away, then track down in a totally different state. So I do want to ask, did you ever experience a crime like this one?
Well, in my time in the NYPD, I've investigated over 300 homicides, and you don't often get something of this type of magnitude where you have someone who wants to kill a CEO over such a cause. I mean, we did have hit jobs. Most of the time, it was straightforward drug deals and stuff like that. But yeah, nothing to this magnitude that I can recall for such a cause.
All right. And Joe, again, a lot of information being released pretty much on a daily basis. What do you think about the sheer amount of information that is being released by the NYPD as the investigation does progress?
Yeah, they are releasing quite a bit of information now. There's a lot of new faces in the NYPD since I've been there, and they're doing things a little bit different. Most of the time, we like to keep everything tight-lipped. The public doesn't need to know every single detail, especially the stuff that's going to wind up in the courtroom, which all of the stuff is going to wind up in the courtroom. So I'm actually a little surprised to hear some of the stuff coming out about some of the forensic evidence.
What do you make of the gunman's skill set to pull off a crime like this and get away? Because again, this happened as the sun was coming up there over in Midtown Manhattan. What do you make of the fact that he was able to get away?
Yeah, that's disturbing in and of itself. Manhattan, and especially that part of Manhattan, is a safe area. I mean, to have something like this happen at the time that it happened and for this guy to be able to flee without, too many witnesses or any police that are anywhere nearby is very disturbing to me. It's certainly a different time in New York City, as people know.
What exactly do you believe, and again, this is based on your experience overall, as you did experience some of this in the past, what is the NYPD doing right now to kind of pinpoint that motive and piece everything together?
Well, as you can see, from what they've released to the news is they're trying to put their case together. They're trying to put Luigi at the scene, and they're doing that with fingerprints that they found on a water bottle. They're doing it with some ballistic evidence, and that's all great evidence. There's other circumstantial evidence that's going to be involved in this too, that they're putting all together. It's like I tell everybody when we talk about these kinds of cases, it's a big puzzle, and every piece of the puzzle is a piece of forensic evidence, a piece of circumstantial evidence, witnesses, video cameras, stuff like that. They're right now they're putting everything together to try to figure out. What the reasoning was, what the theory was, put him at the scene, and build a case for court, because the evidence has to support the theory that they're going to use. And I predict that this is going to be a very tough court battle. I mean, everybody's getting hung up on some of the evidence that's being released right now, but I've seen it firsthand. I've testified over 200 times, and I've seen it over and over again where a very good, especially a high-priced defense lawyer, will be able to counter some of this stuff.
My last question for you here is, what kind of questions, what kind of answers are you specifically looking for? Again, based on your experience here, as the information comes in, what question or questions do you still have?
Well, first off is motive. I'd really like to get down to exactly why this person did this, what the reasoning was. And you build off of that. But as far as the forensic evidence, I would like to see and like to know a little bit more about some of the ballistic evidence that came in. There's no fingerprints on the shell casings, as they said, which is common. So they have ballistic evidence. They're they test fired the weapon. They compared it to the weapon that was found on him, and that matches. That's great. That puts the murder weapon in his possession. To get him onto the scene is a whole nother story. The fingerprints that they collected was not really on top, not really at the scene. It was a little distance away from the scene, and again, that'll put him in that area. That's great, but when it gets into court, the defense lawyers are going to certainly say, well, he could have, left a water bottle there, while he was doing something else. I mean, there's no time frame when it comes to forensic evidence like that. So that water bottle could have been put there, earlier in the day, maybe the night before, and they'll have to dispute it. And you got to remember, they only need to create doubt in one person in that jury, and then this case will go sideways. So the video evidence is great. They're going to dispute that. They're going to say, well, how can you definitively say that's him? A lot of these things are circumstantial, and hopefully when it gets to court, the prosecution is strong enough to be able to convince the jurors, and that's what I hope for in this case.
All right, Joe Thompson, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here and break it all down. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Have a great day.